Hello everyone, this is Running on Empty. Food review. So ladies and gentlemen, here we are. This time it's not in the car. If this was a car, it'd be I think it'd be a very interesting looking automobile to have all this here. But we're not in the car. We're back at the desk here. And we're trying Little Caesars. Now, the interesting fact to say about this video is that it happened by accident. And you might be saying, "Review bro, what are you talking about? How on earth can a review happen by accident?" You know, if you got to coordinate a review, you got to find a product, you got to set everything up. You got to do something to make this review happen. How could it happen by accident? You can't just slip on the floor and say, "Oh well, I slipped and somehow a pizza review happened." Fact of the matter is, to keep it short and get to the review, went to Little Caesars, wanted to get just regular deep dish pizza. So I go in, it's a very disorganized place, and they say, "Oh, you wanted just a deep dish?" And I say, "Yep." Look in the box, looks good. Go home, and instead of a deep dish, they gave me the deep dish with the stuffed crust pizza, with the cheese stuffed crust. And they said, "It's an accident. I didn't intend to ever get this pizza," but I said, "We'll make something out of it. So let's do a review for it." I know this pizza's been around for a while, and I imagine I'll discontinue the offer soon, but hey, better late than never, right? Here it is. It's their deep dish pizza. I wanted to have it on a little plate so it could be easily maneuverable. It's, of course, on their deep dish pizza. Comes with pepperoni, deep dish cheese, sauce, and then, of course, if you look in the crust, you can see perhaps it has cheese in the crust. If you haven't already seen those commercials on TV where they have those guys with the floating little heads going around acting as if this is the greatest thing to ever have happened. And some people are acting like that. I saw a comment somewhere where someone was saying that this pizza was their childhood dream come true, I know every kid wants to be, an astronaut or royalty or something, but this person, I guess, was just, all they wanted in life was just to have this deep dish pizza from Little Caesars, and, Anyways, we're going to try it, and we'll, what it tastes like. First we'll eat the pizza, then we'll try the crust. So the deep dish pizza with the cheese stuffed crust. Alright, it's the stuffed crust, the deep dish pizza from Little Caesars. Either way, you know what it is, we'll eat it. You know how it is, you gotta scratch that itch. Take one more bite of the pizza itself. Talk about it briefly, and then we'll get to the crust. There's a napkin. Alright, exactly. So what does the pizza taste like? Well, I personally have always been a fan of Little Caesars, their deep dish pizza. And the pizza itself, for this at least, is their deep dish pizza. Alright, well, what does a deep dish pizza taste like? The deep dish pizza itself is very doughy, very chewy. Alright, that's the emphasis. It's got a lot of dough, you bite in, dough is chewy, and, very soft, no real crunch to it at all. Very soft, very chewy in terms of texture. Now, the combination of the cheese and pepperoni gives it really a noticeable saltiness. Pepperoni, a tiny little spiciness, but that kind of blends mostly into the whole flavor of the slice. But it gives you this saltiness, right? The saltiness from the cheese and from the pepperoni. And that's kind of balanced out with the sauce, which has a zing to it. It's not, I wouldn't go as far as to say a bitterness, so there definitely is a little bit of a faint little bitterness in that sauce. More of a tanginess overview, but I'll stop using that word. Yeah, but it's a good word to use, tanginess. And it does. It's able to cancel out some of the some of the overwhelming saltiness that would otherwise exist in the pizza itself. But it's standard for any sort of deep dish pizza, this exact thing. Now we're going to eat the crust and let you know what that tastes like, which is really the important part. Alright. What does a cheese stuffed crust taste like? And this is the important part. This is what everyone wants to know. You know, it bears an odd semblance to Pizza Hut's stuffed crust pizza. You know, it does. It looks very similar. The cheese itself, of course, every place likes to portray in their commercials, you know, that you're ripping the slices apart and that there's, you know, these wispy, you know, hot embers of cheese that are all stringy and everything, that's like liquid cheese in the crust. That's not the case. Rather, it's got the same exact thickness, texture, and consistency of string cheese, you know? And that's pretty much it. It's like someone put a little thing of string cheese in the crust and baked it. Now the crust itself, interestingly enough, of course, you bite in, you get the cheese, which is very rich. You're going to notice a richness in the crust. And I might say even a little too much of a rich flavor from all the cheese in there. In comparison to the blander dough which kind of envelops it, it's almost a real stark contrast, which it goes, but just barely, you know. It's just, you get this very rich cheese in a large quantity in the crust, and it's just surrounded by this almost bland, chewy dough. There is a little crispiness, thankfully, otherwise it would be too chewy, but there is a little crispiness from the actual kind of side, from where it was in the, you know, in the pan. So you do get that crunch in there, which kind of helps. And interestingly enough, I don't know if this is intentional or not, if they do this with all the pizzas, but it's like they lined up the pepperoni to coincide with the crust. And because of it, you get more of that concentrated, salty spiciness from the pepperoni, and even a little more of a crunch, which really does add to the richness, but also, you know, it kind of gives a little bit of diversity to that flavor of the crust itself. Overall, though, I think it's pretty decent. Of course, I think there could be a little few adjustments here and there. I think the cheese could have a little more flavor. I think they could put maybe a little less of it on. And the sauce I'm not particularly fond of, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, they charged me $8 for this pizza, but the actual price is $10 because it gave me the wrong pizza. $10 is the price for this pizza, which is fair. You're getting a lot of food in there. 8 slices, deep dish, good quantity of food, good amount of food, and the price is good. Price is good for it. You know, especially compared to like the $16 they charge you at Pizza Hut. Alright, out of 10, what am I going to be rating the cheese stuffed crust deep dish pizza from Little Caesars? I'm sorry about my throat, by the way. I don't know what it is. Just I guess excess mucus, congestion. Nonetheless, what am I going to be rating it out of 10? I shall be rating the deep dish cheese stuffed crust pizza from Little Caesars out of 10. You know, it was solid. It was okay. Could be a little better, could be a little worse. I know I've been given a lot of 8s lately, but I think it's deserving of it. I'm going to give this just a straight 8.0 out of 10. You know, just because the pizza itself was on point. The crust itself, there wasn't really anything horrible about it. The price is okay. If you want to get it, I recommend, if you're into the mood for some stuffed crust pizza from Little Caesars, give it a shot. Otherwise, just go off the deep dish pizza if you want more of that pizza flavor. But that's all I have for you. I'm your host, Reporter of the Week, Kirk out.